Well, good evening and welcome to another installment of Pastor on the Porch, brought to you live from the Pastor Christmas Studios here in Randleman, North Carolina. Um, Taking advantage of some of the nicer weather this afternoon after I finished up with a meeting down in Ashboro in the woods, which was so enlightening and life-giving to be out in the middle of nature and being able to accomplish something while in the middle of nature was an awesome thing to do. But came back and Jeremiah asked, could we start putting up some of the Christmas stuff? And I had started putting up a few lights a couple days ago, and one of the blow-ups that we had gotten new this year, and today we put up a whole bunch more. So the yard is now got polar bears and dogs and Yodas and gnomes and snowmen playing saxophone and the Grinch and Santa Claus and Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph and Mary and Joseph and joy in it, which just brings me joy. And you may be able to see in the window behind me the reflections of some of the lights that are hanging from the porch, and more will come throughout this next week or so. I love this time of year to be able to do this and be able to bring joy and bring smiles to folks driving by and folks that are in the neighborhood, or maybe word will get out and people will be specifically driving over just to see what all the fuss is about here at the house. So, but with all of that aside, being out in nature today was amazing. I have the privilege of being in a group of fellow pastors that all serve in more of a rural context than in big city context. So we all were able to get together in an outdoor setting today where we were able to keep our distance and keep safe, but also have some time of fellowship, break some bread, and really experience God's blessing upon us this afternoon. And it just reminded me, as we were sitting out there underneath this picnic pavilion and listening to the leaves fall and the birds chirp and everything that was going on in nature, just how important it is that we as individuals recognize everything that we have in our lives, that we've been given in our lives, that we need to possibly cherish more in our lives as we come upon this Christmas season. As we come upon this Christmas season, this Advent season, oftentimes we get wrapped up in this idea of we need to give, we need to do, we need to have these moments, have these events, have these dinners, have all of these things that when we look back, that's not really what matters. That's not really how we remember really anything. Thinking back to my childhood, I don't remember many, if any, of the toys that were given at Christmas. I don't remember, the moments in which things were given to me. What I remember is the times that we spent together. I remember the Thanksgiving in which my father was in the hospital, and it was Thanksgiving Day, and we went back to Grandma's house, and there wasn't a turkey cooking. Instead, there was pizza, and my older brother had such a fit about it. My grandma went out and got a turkey and cooked it the next day so we could have a traditional Thanksgiving meal. Those are the moments that we need to really hone in on. Those are the pieces of the puzzle that when we look back on our journeys through life, that we'll remember. Those are the moments in history when we are writing our book, our memoirs or such. When we as individuals can put those things down in writing, it's not going to be the stuff that you put down in your memoir. Yeah, you may have a memory of that special toy. Maybe you got that Red Ryder BB gun. But it's the moments that happened afterwards that you're remembering. It's not the opening of that gun, that present. Maybe you got that latest and greatest video game. Yeah, you played it, but then when you played it and you had interactions with people, those are the memories that you have. It's not that memory of getting, it's that memory of doing. Each of us has a chance to do. And I encourage each and every one of us this holiday season, this Thanksgiving season, this Christmas season, this season of Advent, that particularly in this year in which we haven't been able to celebrate a year, that we not focus so much on the things, focus so much on the stuff, focus so much on what society has told us these seasons are all about. But instead, let's focus on what we can do, what we can accomplish, what we can feel in our hearts. Let the Spirit move you to do things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise have done. And I realize it still is hard to do in the times in which we are in. But also realize that it's easy for us to do in the times in which we are in. You know, no other time in our history would we ever have thought that we could do some of the stuff that we're doing right now. Just look at this ministry that has blossomed from this tragedy. God is using each and every one of us in a particular way. God is using each and every one of us in a way in which we may not see what is happening in the now. But God is using each and every one of us in order to accomplish the overall mission. Remember, it's not necessarily a mission that is right in front of our faces. Each seed that is planted has a chance to grow. But if you don't spread out enough seeds, you won't have a yard. Each and every one of us needs to be able to plant enough seeds out there for a yard to grow. We aren't able as individuals to do as they do in greenhouses and baby and tend each and every planted seed. Instead, we rely more on the idea that if we plant enough seeds, then some of those will sprout. And some of those will make seed, and some of those will sprout, and the process will continue. And that's what God has in store for each of us. We are to plant those seeds. We may not see the full fruition of that seed being planted. But don't fear. Don't feel as though it wasn't worth it. Because we can't always fully envelop what it looks like to have all of those seeds sprout. We may see some of those seeds sprout. We may see some of those seeds sprout in spaces that we never thought would be possible. On the rock, on the concrete, in the swamp. But at the same time, that seed that we water and is filled with life can also perish with just one moment. But remember that it's the combination of all of the seeds that make things happen. So this season, in this season of planting, in this season of giving, in this season of showing each other what is important, being important to somebody else, being there for somebody else this season. I want you to remember about those seeds. A seed that is planted today may not sprout until next spring. But it's doing that because that's what God has in store, and that's the germination process. So remember, there is that germination process where the seed takes up all the nutrients that it can absorb. The nutrients of the Lord, the nutrients of the ground, the nutrients of each and every one of us. And that seed absorbs all of that. And then in the spring, that seed comes to fruition, and we see what happens when that seed sprouts. It sprouts up. We see lots and lots of what we or somebody else sees as possible. Each of us is called to be a planter. Each of us is called to be a germinator. Each of us is called to be a feeder. Each of us is called to do what God has in store for us. So go out there. Do that work, that important work that is of us and is of the Lord, so that we as individuals can plant the seeds for the next generation. We as individuals can be who God needs us to be at this time. We as individuals can go on in and through Christ and love Christ and show that love that Christ showed us each and every day. Now as we go this evening and we think about these things, we think about these times, we think about these moments in which we may have planted a seed, the wonder, where is that seed today? Know that each and every seed has done something in somebody's life. So go, love, and care for each and every one of your children. Amen.